Language opens doors. The more people who can speak to each other, the better. Hi, I'm Catherine Nock. Hola, yo soy Catherine Nock. I teach Spanish at Syracuse University. Yo soy profesora de español en la Universidad de Syracuse. I'm here today to talk about language learning and language acquisition. So the first question is, what does second language acquisition mean? There are very technical and scientific definitions for that, but I'm going to tell you what it means for me. What it means for me is that the student is studying and developing a level of proficiency that allows them to communicate in a language that's not the one they grew up speaking. So they're able to express opinions, ideas, thoughts, read intermediate level text at a fairly proficient level. Do you have any tips for students trying to improve their Spanish or second language skills outside of the classroom? Honestly, if you've had no exposure to it at all, I really think you should, in any way possible, take 101, whether it's online or in person, because everybody sort of needs that foundation. Otherwise, you just have an endless series of confusions. Then there's the more obvious things, right? The non-in-person things. There's TV, there's lots of Netflix series, then there's podcasts, there are YouTube channels, there's influencers that are very funny. Just all those kinds of things are right at their fingertips. You can do it 5 minutes. A lot of it depends on the person, like their motivation and how much time they want to devote to it. And we really encourage them to at least start with some basic knowledge. What trends are you seeing in your field of research that you're most excited by? There's something called performance-based methodology, and that is where students are given almost improv-style scenarios. We give them vocabulary, tools, parameters, but then they figure it out on their own. They figure out what they want to say, who's going to take on what role. I really like them to get their hands into the text and play with it and see how it looks from a different point of view. They're having a lot of success with that in second language learning. How do you choose, meaning me, Latin American or Spanish films, music, and text for your classroom that best foster cultural literacy? I think of this as kind of going shopping. There's a few factors that I take into consideration. One, I'm not looking for things that are too long or too complex. I'm looking for things that they can understand and feel some sense of mastery at the end of the unit. Some of the things we read are old. They're over 100, maybe 200 years old. But one of the points of the course is to show the students how the themes in these things we're reading still connect very much to today's world. What roles do you think new technologies like AI should play in today's language classes? Most of my students, almost all of them, will say that they're learning Spanish so that they can talk to other people. They want to be able to handle themselves and interact with native speakers in a real-world environment. So a certain amount of AI is great. I just don't want to overdo it, and I don't want it to push away other aspects of language and culture learning, because it's not just the words. It's the expressions, the gestures, the music, the food, the behavior. There's certain words you would never use in your grandmother's house. Students need to understand that in any language. One of the things I always tell them is Spanish is a bargain because you get 22 countries for the price of one course. I think you won't be sorry you dedicated the time for something that will reap a lot of benefits later on. Buena suerte.